So I'm looking for a small part. No, that is a small part, except that. Okay. So this loads the STL file into this program, and this is generated with lots of CAD programs, including SketchUp. And then, and this
What does SPL stand for?
stereolithography, STL. Basically stereolithography, a way of defining files for some of the earliest 3D printers, and it's a standard file format. So in here, in this, you could copy the object, and then, you know, if you wanted to print more than one, or you know, center it, rotate it. Some of the objects would not fit perpendicular, so I had to rotate it 45 degrees. And sometimes the way they exported from the CAD program, they're rotated in a way that they're not going to print. So you have to rotate them along the X, Y, Z axis. You could, you know, translate, move it around. You could scale it, make it bigger or smaller. Center object, you know, puts it in the center, and that's really all we have to do for this part. Then there's the slicer program. Oops. Well, it's slicing it. The slicer program is set up. Oh, that's okay. I set it up before with parameters I like. So this shows the tool path that it's going to use. And then manual control. Let's see. Now, the heated extruder has been kind of dripping, so it's usually good to hit extrude until you see it starting to come out, and then kind of wipe it out of the way. You want to see it extrude again, and then just, it might give you grief later, so. Some people mount like a piece of cloth on the end, so that as it goes by it wipes the tip. So let's hit run job. Ready?
Ready.
So it's rehoming. I don't know why it goes through the middle, redoes the Z, and then it waits for something. I have no idea what this wait is. But sugar, go away. Okay, now it's starting. Waiting again. And then it kind of extrudes a little bit just to make sure everything's flowing. And this is a good time to look to make sure each trace is consistent in height and width. And it's looking a little round for the first layer, so I probably should raise the home switch so it smushes it a little fatter. But with this glue stick, it's working so much better. Okay, did you notice it went faster and that one was slower? The faster part is what's called a skirt, which does the first layer a little bit wider to help stick it. And then it goes slow for the outer layer, and then it went fast on the inner layers. And so now it's, and you can see there's a little bit of a gap between these, so it's not being smushed down quite enough. So we'll just, before I forget, I'll raise the screw quarter turn. So yeah, it does the outer rim slowest. Faster, faster, slow. And the inner space it does quicker. So see, faster, faster, and then slow to make it look prettier. And the first 3 layers are solid, and then it's going to put some hollow spaces in the middle just to save time and material.
How expensive is the material?
About $40 a kilogram if you don't shop around. And, well, it went off the screen, but this part is going to be a penny or two. I mean, we'll weigh it on a scale, how many grams, but it's 4 cents a gram. So I guess it's more than a penny, but maybe a nickel.
And if you were to stop it, would it then continue when you turn it back on, or would it you really have to start all over again?
You could, but I don't think it would be worth the effort. I mean, you got to make sure things thermally come up together, and
Yeah. So it's best to do the whole thing in one.
yeah. If the biggest part I did maybe took 4 hours, so not too long. I mean, I guess if you're more experienced too. But it was, you know, on some of my prints, you get this far or not this far, and they unstick, and then you have to stop. So the temperatures, okay, now it's doing a hexagon infill. The temperatures helped a lot because when it cools, it shrinks. And then that glue stick really helps it glue down. Now when it cools, you could sometimes hear a pop as it unsticks, and it'll sometimes move because of the pop.
And what did you do with the glue stick? You just smeared it on the
Yeah.
Elmer glue stick?
This is a dried out glue stick, which would probably also work, but it melts. People say the washable purple stuff is best, and it looks a little purple. So I've leveled that bed maybe 100 times trying to figure things out.
And you have one like this at work?
Yes. It was one of the earliest ones at work, and it was magic. It works out of the box. We've taken the thing apart to replace the printer head, and people haven't futzed as much as I have to get this going. It's incredible how much it just worked, which is why I recommended this to everybody. And I think in the state it is now, if I tidied things up to make it a little more reliable, it would be as good as the one at work. I think I'm finally to that point. I'll see the top view.
That's a good idea.
So it's starting to solid fill in part of it, but you can still see some in the back part. You can still see where it's doing part of a honeycomb. So the reason why it's solid filling the other half is it's almost done printing on that half. And the stepper motor pushes the filament in, and when it pauses, it backs it out a programmed amount to keep it from oozing and leaving a little hair. The Slicer software takes the 3D STL files and calculates the tool paths for each slice, and it's all open source and free that I'm using. You could buy versions, and it's just amazing how complex it is to that people have donated their time in order so everybody could 3D print for cheap. It would be a huge struggle for me to write this software. And it's kind of cool on the computer screen. The older stuff it printed is blue, and the most recent is red, and it, you know, it's kind of like how hot is it?
How strong is the part?
Oh man, you know, okay, here's an incomplete goof up. Okay, that it was the thinnest part, so that broke easier. But if it wasn't thin there, I can't break this. With pliers, I could break this.
So that's pretty strong stuff.
Yeah, you can see how thin this is. This is probably 4 or 5 layers. You know, it's pretty durable. And especially if you finish it and it's thick enough, I'd say it's pretty strong. You know, well, I don't want to break this one.